Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Open Source Silicon stream. Good to see some of you in the comments already. Mike Warrott says, waiting patiently. Well, wait no longer, Mike. Here we are. Just let me know if the audio is coming through loud and clear. Always appreciate that. Where are you based, Mike? Sylvan says, hi. Hi from Belgium. And Rohan Verma. Think you're in India, right? If I remember correctly. Good to see you here again on the stream. Let me just open up my notes here. So got a fair amount of news to get through first. So this link is linked in the video description. So if you want to get access to these links, you can just click in there. So first thing, so we're on number 16. That's good. I should remember that. So a couple of repetitions from last time. We got the Birds of a Feather open source at DAC tomorrow. DAC, I found it really easily before. No, I'm not going to be able to find it. There we go. So it's free to attend. It's happening tomorrow in San Francisco. If you're around, then feel free to go. And you can even, it might not be too late to present something if you let Andrew know. Andrew, you can get in contact with Andrew, the organizer, here on this link here. Hello and happy Monday yourself. Thanks for joining the stream. Okay, next thing, AllConf. Yeah, it's a long way away. I just want to get the word out. People put it in their calendars, 12th to the 14th. I've been working on booking the venue for the Saturday dinner. It's going to be a great event. So make sure to reserve your spot and think about making a presentation. Johnny Yu says, hi. Hi, Johnny. Thanks for tuning in. And Mike says, if he was in San Francisco, he'd go and see Sam Zaloof and Atomic Semi. Yeah, last time I was in San Francisco, I was actually had a date to go and visit, and then at the last minute had to get cancelled because they had some other visitors there that the public couldn't be in at the same time or something like that. So I don't really know what he's up to at the moment. But yeah, Sam's a good guy. Hopefully we'll get to see more about from Atomic Semi soon. Yeah, just a reminder, next week I'm going to be traveling, so no stream next week. DV Club Zurich, so on the EU side, if you're in Switzerland or close by and interested in RISC-V verification, the DV Club is happening, and that's an in-person event. You can go and check that out. Okay, then I thought I would show off the activity cards, but I'm not sure if I've actually got them downloaded on this computer. But as part of the Swiss Chips conference event on the Monday, I'm preparing a conference table. I shared some of that last time, and I wanted to have a system where there'd be some interactive stuff people could look at and explore. But if there's lots of people, that they can pick up one of these activity cards and follow through step by step. And that would give them like a bit of a hands-on touch, and also signposting for other activities, for other resources. So let me just download these. Okay. Sorry about the delay there, folks. So I think this is the first one. So aim to be printed, double-sided, and then laminated. And this one is getting started with SiliWiz and solving a little puzzle. So there's a CMOS inverter here with some missing metal. And you go to this link here and try to solve the puzzle, relate the schematic with the layout. And then once you get that working, you'll be rewarded with the inverter. Just as a question to people who are watching, how easily can you read this number in this turquoise dot? Let me know in the comments. So I'm colorblind and I find it quite difficult to read that. I might change the color, but I know that many other people probably can read it fine. Let me know what you think. And then, then there's a second one, which is, I'm not sure if I showed this on stream, but I've made this bigger version of here's the one I originally made, which is a little kit. And then this is the big brother. And then this one is designed to not wear out in a conference. So instead of like being a push fit, it's done with little magnets. Maybe you can see there. So that clips together. So the other one, the push fit joints wear up, were 3D printed. So this is like presented as a set of puzzle pieces, and you have to work out how to put it together. And by putting it together, you kind of get a feeling for where the MOSFETs are, and you can scan the codes and go to the main page for that, which has a lot of really like those instructions actually. Okay, Sylvan and Mike both say it's okay, but contrast is low. So I might change these for the pink color. I think that would work better. And then I've got number 3, which is load a project. So on the table is going to be the Tiny Tape Out 5 board along with an LCD screen. And the idea is that you use the commander. So you bring up a simple design on Tiny Tape Out 5 and play with it. It's the design we've got is that VGA Dino game from Anish. And then, yeah, you can scan the code to get the data sheet, see the other designs, maybe choose another design and get that working. And then the last one, which is in the works at the moment, is simulator design. So it's taking one of these simple designs that was done as one of the Tiny Tape Out workshops. This is the one. And then you can kind of explore, check how their ins and outs work and the logic gates work and how this clock divider works. And then as the kind of stretch goal on that is to enable it in the project and check that the simulation matches. So I'm quite looking forward to getting those printed out, and the conference is on Monday. So I'll get some feedback there. Probably have to scrap a lot of this stuff, see what works, what doesn't work. But it's always fun to see how the idea like interacts with reality. What's the? I just realised I've not been sharing this screen here. Here's the final one. With the logic gates. Yeah, thanks. Just told me just as I realised myself. But yeah, thanks for pointing that out. Something I still need to get better at when I'm streaming is keeping the view here and checking it occasionally to make sure. And Tech and Gaming Perk says hi. Hi. And hi nothing as well. Good to have you here. So having said all of that, if you're interested in playing with this stuff, you can actually try it out, most of it. Let me just drop a link in here in the Google Doc. You can work through those activities and have a play yourself. Let me know what you think. Okay, so next up, I have got Gem. This is actually shared on the Zero to ASIC course Discord. I think I might have seen it on LinkedIn as well. It's from Nvidia, Nvidia Labs, and it's a graphics card accelerated RTL logic simulator. Has anyone played with this yet? Just wondering, Sylvana might be the kind of thing that you'd be interested in having a look at. And when I checked out the usage, they're using Yosis to do the Rohan. Thanks. Yeah, Rohan shared it. Rohan, where did you come across it? It uses Sylvan's saying it had a quick look at the paper, but it seems like a pain. I don't know. I mean, is this the paper? What you mean, the usage.md, or was there was a paper as well? They're saying using digital compiler, but you can use Yosis as well. Download and compile the gem with CUDA, and then simulate it. Looks like a Rust thing, but it seems like a kind of thing you could script or use a makefile for, I thought. But I'm interested to know if people try that, how they get on with it. So last week, we spoke a bit about Shaffins' interview and collected some questions. And we've got a lot of questions. We've got about 25 questions. This was the LinkedIn post. Uh, 180 gigahertz power amplifier done with open source tools. And one of the interesting things I thought was we haven't really seen too many people using OpenEMS in this space yet, but it is an interesting and useful full wave simulator. I don't know too much about it, but what I've been told is that a lot of the simulators only simulate the electric part of the electromagnetic field, which is a fine compromise to make for low frequency stuff or many things, many types of circuits. But when you're doing radio or very high frequency stuff, the magnetic wave is important. It has to be simulated. So with OpenEMS, it's possible to actually do the full electromagnetic wave simulation on the physical shapes of the structures. And I interviewed him, and that interview went pretty well. And I think, did I post this? Here's the link. It's had 3,500 views, which is pretty good for an interview video. So, and he drops some information about how he uses OpenEMS and a script that he used, and that's been taped out on IHP. And the reason it can go so fast is because he's using the BiCMOS transistors, the super fast transistors. I also interviewed Peter Kinget last week, and that was also, I was requesting questions for that. So I got another bunch of questions, about 15 questions, talking to him about MOSbius. Actually, doesn't have a capital B there, MOSbius. And we're going to talk about that later on in the main topic of today. But that was a really good interview. I've recorded that, it's edited. I'll be publishing it on my on the channel soon. So if you're not already a subscriber, then you can subscribe to make sure you don't miss it. Although that actually doesn't work very well anymore, but still say it, like and subscribe. It'll be posted soon. You can ring. Oh, you have to ring the bell, I think. Then you get an alert if you care that much. Otherwise, I'm sure you'll catch it if you're interested. Yeah, a little update on SpaceX. Yeah, Mike is saying that RF design is black magic, especially when you add in process variation, changing the tuning. Yeah, so I think that that's one of the things that's difficult about analog microelectronics in general, is that as you simulate your design across different process corners, you get different results. Again, it's not something I'm too familiar with or know too much about, but from the people that I've spoken to, one of the workarounds that you do there is you try to do things with relationships between components or characteristics rather than relying on absolute values. So if you think about making a reference voltage, you wouldn't want to do that with exactly length tuned resistors. But if you could have one resistor that is twice the length of the other, then even if things change in the processes, that ratio stays the same. I'm not sure how great an example that is, to be honest, but yeah, rather than using actually, I've got quite a good slide on that. Let me see if I can find it. It's from a book that Boris Merman wrote. Where did I present this? AllConf 2024. Here. Yeah, I like this page because it was like a comparing between board level versus microelectronics level. And the critical parameters in the MOSFET transistors can be made to match between 1%, but vary by more than 30% for different runs. So on one die, you can get them to match very accurately, but die to die, much harder. I'll drop a link to this in the notes so you can access it easily. So then just wrapping up on the news then, SpaceX, this deadline is over. The submissions are closed. I think there's one pull request outstanding. Pat was ill last week with an ear infection. Hopefully he's going to make an announcement this week saying, giving us an update and next steps. And we got 17 experiments submitted that's going to go, and hopefully if all goes to plan, those experiments will run on the tiny tape-out 6 chip in low Earth orbit. And I think it went pretty well for a a first trial run, and I guess we'll see how the flight goes and see how if people are interested in this in the future. We got this first one free of charge, thanks to the university we're collaborating with. In the future, if we have to pay for it, it might be like an additional option where if you want to have access to your design on a tiny tape-out chip in low Earth orbit, it's an additional add-on that's like €100 or something. And then as long as we get 20 or 30 people who take us up on that, then that will cover the cost of launching it into orbit. Nothing is asking, does your analog course cover the dockup setup method? Also, does it support Mac users? At the analog course is centered around the virtual machine. That's the easiest way to get it to work. And VirtualBox doesn't work on new Macs. But if you have another virtual host, I don't know the names of them, but there's like one that's kind of $50 a year, I think. And then that's able to load the image. That's the easiest way, because that will mean that what you see is exactly what matches the course material. But an alternative is to use Harold Prettel's Docker. Things look and feel a bit differently, but people are using that. So hopefully that answers your question. Okay, and then the last thing I wanted to just highlight here was just give me a thumbs up in the chat if you've submitted to Tiny Tape-Out before. I know Sylvan has. This is what it looks like when you connect to a Tiny Tape-Out board. So I think I've plugged it into the FPGA version, which is what it's saying, shuttle unknown. I plugged this into Tiny Tape-Out 7. It reads the shuttle, and then we get a list of all the designs in here. And then after you've loaded one, there's this button to report results, which we really encourage to keep a track of like how many designs are tested and working. And then if you do that, something is really going wrong with my browser here. It's like pausing. The report comes in this page here, and we can see like how many designs on Tiny Tape-Out 6 have been tested by people, which is great. But it's also linked to the Discord, so we get messages in here when designs are being reported as working. And I just wanted to show off a couple of these. So we had Tommy Thorne reported the LFSR working on Tiny Tape-Out 6, and Ken reported his Lisa 8-bit microcontroller, which is a real big, interesting design. Takes up the largest amount of space we have on Tiny Tape-Out. And this in the corner here is a separate macro block for efficient memory usage, DFF RAM. So it's an interesting project, very, very well documented, and now it's been tested. So that's great to see. And then EasyPal, another test from Ken. And then I think I saw one coming up in Tiny Tape-Out 7 channel as well. Yes, the mini game of life, which you can check works actually using the commander, which is cool. and then this most recent one, serial character LED matrix. And we've got a lovely little video demo here saying hello, Tiny Tape Out 7. So super cool seeing these tests come in, validating the designs and seeing how things work in silicon. Jörn, have you submitted a test report? You've got a few designs on there, haven't you? Okay. So that's it for the news. That took a long time. And then the topic that I wanted to get onto today was mini MOSbius. So I spoke to Peter at length and asked all most of the questions about MOSbius. So it's a transistor gate array. It has a whole bunch of transistors arranged in typical layouts that you would use as a chip designer, like current mirrors and differential pairs and emitter followers and stuff like this. And you can have access to every pin of each device on the outside of the chip. And then you can put the chip on a board like this, and you can build up experiments using these building blocks, and all the transistors also have a sizing. So you see these numbers here, 1, 2, 4, 8, 16. And then as well as on top of that, there's a switch matrix that can be programmed by 650 flip-flops. This enable clock and data is how it goes in there. Very similar to the tiny tape out interface where you send a bunch of clocks, send a serial data in, and then you enable it and the design goes live. So you don't actually need to connect all the wires outside the chip. You can make all these connections inside the chip, and he even has a little tool that can read an LT spice layout and then generate the bit stream to enable the same design on MOSbius. Rohan is saying you might want to look at FPAAs. I didn't actually know that was a real term. Field programmable analog arrays, I guess. FPAA. By the way, so that interview I was really happy with, and one of the cool things was he showed a lot of these demos working, and I'm going to be publishing that later this week. So another good reason to subscribe to the channel. So basically, I mean, one reason why the design is it's on 65 nanometer TSMC. It's not open source, but the IEEE Chipathon is doing a MOSbius track, and it's being supervised by Peter. And the idea is to make an open source version on GF180. And I really think this is a great idea, and I think that it would be cool to have a mini MOSbius that is on every tiny tape out chip, uses up one of the analog tiles, and then that can become part of labs at universities, or a way for you to experiment with designs before they're taped out. So I would like to spend a bit of time today drawing up some ideas and working out kind of how much we can get in. Already spoke a little bit about this on the Tiny Tape Out Discord, and I think, Sylvan, it was you who said you would first start off by looking at what designs you want to be able to make and then checking that you can do it. So I think this op-amp would be a good starting point. And one of the things that we can do as well is we can we've got a bunch of limitations. I'm going to start a new spreadsheet here. And let's just allow you to all be editors for now, if you're interested. I'll put this here. So again, you can get that link on YouTube description. Come to this, scroll down, click that link, and that should take you to here. And then why don't we have a couple of tabs here? So live transistor. Op amp. Now, some of Harold's 50 nifty experiments, and those are cool because they're all basically just 2 transistors. A mixer, like maybe one of these simple mixers. And then I have start another sheet here. Limitations. So we've got only 6 pins. So that's a big difference. I think we would see is that here they're exposing every leg of every transistor. And I think the big part of my proposal is we only expose 6 of these internal buses. I don't know. Maybe stick to the same number, 10 number of buses. Only 6 buses are exposed on the analog pins. I mean, we do have the 24 digital, so you could potentially use some of the digital signals for doing things like providing highs or low levels inside the design. Doesn't MOSbius have a list of circuits? There is a Circuit Labs. Current mirrors. So that's just using 2 transistors. Differential pairs. Okay, so you can see that those differential pairs have already been wired up in that way. So it's not like you have to, if you want a differential pair, that you have to actually connect 2 transistors together to make a differential pair. You use it like a block. One stage OTA and common source amplifier. And actually, that is something that the MOSbius has. Is it has like a whole building block of an OTA. So maybe we do that, or maybe we just have the current mirror and the differential pair and let you build it like that using the bus matrix. And maybe we should start another thing here as well. Internal components available. So NMOS in different sizes, PMOS in different sizes, op-amp block. So one thing that they did with MOSbius is that all these transistors inside, they used IO transistors that have a higher voltage and are more rugged than transistors that you'd normally use for inside a standard cell, for example. Mike is saying can't figure how many cells are on the chip. It's literally this is it. There's nothing else. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Where did I get to? 10, 11. I guess there's 5 in there. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 40, 45. I think there's 45 transistors. So yeah, I would say that potentially this picture could be slightly improved, but the way I understand it is, actually no, I think I do get it here. So the green wires are the bus wires, and they also go out on pins, and then all of these pins, which are the blue numbers that connect to every transistor, they're available here. So if I wanted to connect up the gate of this 4 wide PMOS with the gate of this 4 wide PMOS, or let's say the gate with the drain of that PMOS, I would connect pin 60 to 57. So I'd use bus 1 and then connect 60 and 57 to there. Or I could, with a wire on the outside, connect a physical wire between these 2 pins. Actually, yeah, let's just go back here. Limit is not really the number of external pins. Most circuits are fine with few external connections. And I think that is true. And if you look at the manual here, you're hooking this stuff up inside, but then you only need to be kind of connect. I guess this one is maybe if those capacitors need to be there. But let's if we go to that op amp, that's also not a great example because that can all be done inside. But yeah, you could do, if we just take a look at this here, we've got these nodes could be internal. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, they could all be internal, and then you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4 that would be external. So that 5 transistor op amp internal nodes required. What did I just say? 6. Do people agree with me? That's ground anyway, and that's positive. Let's just assume they're going to be the chip power supply. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So maybe only 4 nodes. Let me know if you agree in the comments. I'm going to not count power supply. So then you need 1, 2, 3, 4. You counted 1 too many. Okay, right. 3, only 3 then. Yeah, so what Mike's saying, we're fine with fewer than 10 external lines. You know, that's one of the limitations we have with tiny tape out, is we currently only have 6. But I still think that, you know, if we write, Peter really wanted it to work, because this was the other thing is that this is the first iteration. So I do want to just it's very, very easy to poke holes in other people's stuff and say, why didn't you do it like this, or it'd be better like that? But remember, this is a first run. It worked on the first time. They're already using it in labs. I think it's actually really impressive. And they really wanted to minimize risk by being able to make sure it would still work, even if this matrix was completely broken. Now they proved the concept. We can do a tiny tape out version without all of these external pins and only using the internal bus matrix. And I think that's what's going to make it work for mini MOSbius. Just going back to what Nothing said. I'm glad that your name is Nothing, not Nobody. It would sound even more weird if I was talking about going back to what Nobody said. What no one was asking was about ESD protection, and that's what all these series resistors are, basically. I think he might have mentioned it in the interview, maybe 50 ohms or something like that. He definitely mentioned that the transmission gates were about 50 ohms. So let's say that 10. We'll go for 10 buses and 6 analog pins, and what we want to know is how much space is it going to take up inside a tiny tape out towel. Is it going to fit? So probably Sylvan is just going to know this off the top of his head. What's the size of the analog transmission gates in use on tiny tape out? And let me just show this off to you as well. So this is the new viewer. And one thing I really like about it is we've got the microscope and we've got the GDS here. And here are the transmission gates, and we've even got a scale here. Can't zoom in any closer than that, but it's looking like if this is 30, it's 20 by 25 microns. Sylvan's saying we can fit 40. So that's going to be the limiting factor because they're going to be much bigger than the transistors and the flip-flops. So if we take a look at like a digital design, like a flip-flop is kind of like a very small here. You see how small they are. So we can kind of write them off out of the equation for now to simplify. If we can do the buses as layers above the transmission gates on top, over the top, and squeeze the transistors in on the sides, then what do we get? 6 times 6 is 36. So we could have a 6 by 6 matrix. And if we, okay, we go, getting the exact results from Sylvan. Thank you, Sylvan. And I guess if we went, so in a 4-tile design, we'd be able to get around 80. I'm not hitting that. There you go. So then that would give us, what's 9 times 9 is 81. So nearly 9 by 9. So could we still do something interesting with the 2-tile design? I mean, personally, I don't know. Yeah, the analog slots are kind of highly prized. They're a very limited resource on the chip, and the pins are limited. So it'd be better if we could get something that was useful in just a 2-tile design. So with a 6 by 6 matrix, how much space, Sylvan, how accurate are you when you're saying about 40? How much leftover space do we have? Can we definitely put, I guess if we're doing 6 by 6, we've got 36, and then that's 4 left over. So let's just assume for now that we could do 6 by 6, which kind of works out nicely. Maybe we could do, even 6 by 7 is 42, isn't it? Because I was thinking you could have like internal, the more internal buses you have, could you also do some optimization by only allowing some combinations of devices, maybe? Kind of feel like yeah, so Mike is saying didn't realize how big the transmission gates are. You need them to be big to get like acceptable performance, basically. These ones, I think, this is actually published on here, I think. Have we got it here? No, I thought we had a link to the transmission gates there. But basically, they give you a round. I mean, they have a transfer function, and it's a trade-off between size and capacitance and impedance. Yeah, so they've got 650 transmission gates. Because they've got 10 buses and 65 external pins. I kind of want to be able to sketch this out. I need one of those tablets that Sylvain has. He does his sketching on there. Cool. So I think that's not great news then, is it? Because if 6 ends of the buses go to the analog external pins, then you've only got 6 internal connections. So that means you can only put 2 devices in there. Let's say one NMOS and one PMOS with a gate drain and source, gate drain and source. So you could still do Harold's 50 nifty because you could connect them up in every way, and you could measure, you could do curve tracing on individual transistors, but you'd be very limited in the number of designs you could make. Okay, so Van's saying you can actually fit 70. But there would be no space left over for the flip-flops or... Okay, the 40 number was for control logic and some margin to actually put devices in there. So I think that's a bit too limited. So let's move on to the 4-tile design, where we're going to maybe get 80 to 100. So if Sylvain is saying needing space, let's just quickly do this. So 2-tile design is 145 by 225. No, that's a 4-tile design. Two-tile design I think I've got the number here. There we go. 160 by 225. Have I cocked this up? 160. Yeah. 345. Okay, and then this transmission gate here is. So if you were able to perfectly tile them and you didn't have space for anything else, you got 90 on the 2 tile and 190 on the 4 tile. So let's say we're like 70% efficient. Well, we need to reserve 30% of space for actual transistors and flops. So then we maybe get 135 for the. Just rough numbers here. So like maybe at a 7, or we could have 8 by 6, 9 by 6. Yeah, that would give us, well, 10 by 6, obviously. So could have a 10. It's funny doing maths with an audience, even though you're a lovely audience. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and a guy was having problems with 20% of 50, and I was like really feeling him. I was like, I'd be the same thing. I'm like, what could we divide 60 by? 6 by 10. Okay, so that would give us three separate devices. Mike is saying, what's the on resistance of the transmission gate? Sylvan's the expert there. Yeah, I mean that's another game you can play. One reason why we want to keep them for at least for like a rough experiment, a quick test, is if we keep them the same as we have them, then we don't have to do the design work again. We can just reuse them. So if we've got 135 divided by. Okay, and then that gives us 22 pins. So then we're at 7 devices. So then you could potentially have, if you had to pick 7 devices, we could have like we could use the same trick that they do, where they have like some useful stuff together. Like one is a current mirror, one is a differential pair. Would that save us a pin? So if you had to pick 7 3-pin transistors, what would you pick? Pick like a 1 times N FET, a 2 times N FET, a 4 times N FET, and then the same for P FET. To do this, so you'd still be missing these 2 extra 1 timeses at the bottom. I guess maybe sacrifice the 4 times and have like an extra 1 times. Sylvan's saying you can't think of individual devices, you need blocks. So you would just wrap them directly up into pair combinations directly, would you, Sylvan? I was thinking keeping them individual gives maybe more flexibility and I mean, you'll get better matching if you make them as blocks. So let's go with Sylvan's suggestion here. So let's say your differential pair would have. Oh, I see what you mean when Sylvan said I miscounted this because I counted the body connection there. So you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pins on that one block, though. Yeah, it's a good point, Sylvan. But yeah, then it's not looking particularly realistic here without some kind of trick or insight, because if you need to spend, oh, hold on, we've got 22 pins, don't we? We've got a budget of 22 pins. So with a differential pair, we've spent 5 of them. Okay, so could still be doable. So if anyone on the watching now or on the replay is interested in this idea and wants to get involved, we've got a question open, I think, on the Tiny Tape Out Discord. If not, I'll open one. And if you've got any suggestions about ways of doing this, keeping within the limitations of what we have, then let me know. Very interested to get your feedback. Sylvan's saying the math works better on IHP. Why is that? Is that more space or more analog pins? I think the problem here is area, though, isn't it? We just can't look at MOSbius with 650 transmission gates. That's kind of what we want, like a few hundred. Smaller transistors and larger tiles. Okay, well, thanks everybody for joining today anyway. Hope you enjoyed doing something a bit different, looking at kind of the feasibility of analog microelectronics. Definitely encourage you to check out the MOSbius resources and stay tuned for the interview that will be dropping later this week. Happy Monday, and hope you have a great rest of your week. And remember, no stream next week. So thanks very much for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.